All I want is.
Give it to the board or-
I don't.
Josh, what is it?
I did broke your panel.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
And you had to remove the entire dash.
Yeah.
And then remove part from the firewall outside, just with our own bolt.
No, she's just passing through now. Oh, yeah.
I didn't have it. Bad things in this, because you're reading online, it says you have.
She's coming home for a couple of weeks.
That means that that's where.
She's also dressed up. As soon as they get somebody to cast it, they back out. So we're in the car and she's
So-
reading.
It's just a matter of time.
So I called her, you can see her. One in the background.
Talk about all that.
It's in her packet, it'll be fine.
20-year-old plastic. Fragile.
Yes. It's a cat.
We've got to get a sweeping bill for mine because even in eyes who have the grammar.
Well, I'm sure my cats. There, but. She was something. And then. You know, they could come back for Christmas or you going somewhere.
Saturday after Christmas.
And the Christmas party though. Wow.
Yeah. It's 5:35, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on to the consent agenda, Brad, is there anything you needed to add? Any questions?
Nothing I need to add.
I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Not, Don?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. Nothing under public comments, petitions and memorials, so moving on to old business, special meeting on Monday, December 29th. Brad?
Yeah, so the meeting for the, public meeting for the amended budget was actually scheduled for this meeting, but there was a problem with the publication that we had in the paper. And so that required us to republish that in the paper. And so we need to hold a special meeting on December 29th in order to get that done. We were able to get that published in the paper the correct way. And so I would just ask that we approve that we hold a special meeting for the amended budget for the public hearing on December 29th at 5:35 PM here in City Hall.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a special meeting on Monday, December 29th, 2025, 5:35 PM to hold the 2025 amended budget hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to hold a special meeting for the 2025 amended budget hearing. Any further discussion? Not done.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. Moving to new business, item 1, resolution 2025-16, neighborhood revitalization.
Yeah, so this resolution would allow the city of Glen Orpha to participate in the public hearing that's going to be held at the county commission chamber on December 31st. And so that's really what this resolution is about. This allows us to participate in that public hearing. If the county commission decides to go ahead with the neighborhood revitalization plan, there would be additional steps that we would need to take in order to be a part of that plan. This just, like I said, this just makes us part of that public hearing.
So I mean, just to be clear, this isn't saying yes or no, it's just saying it will be part of the meeting.
That's correct.
And then after that, we'll see what happens.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-16 for the city to participate in a public meeting set at 9 a.m. on December 31st, 2025 at the county courthouse in the county commission chamber.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2025-16. Any further discussion? If not, Don?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. Item 2, resolution 2025-17, employee handbook.
So this resolution, we discussed a few different things here in the commission meetings here in the past, I'd say month or two. You know, part of it's about changing the way that we do per diem. Currently, you know, we've been paying like per meal charge. This would just be taking it to a per diem charge, where we just pay the actual per diem for the location that employees are going to. It just really kind of tightens some of that up for the training program. This was also one of the things that we had talked about was establishing an EAP. And this just kind of defines that EAP. And there's a reason why I didn't put some of the language that our current employee assistance program has in there. This is really focused on the mental health aspect of it. Just in all that states that will cover 3 mental health. It will cover 3 mental health sessions for employees. And the rest of what is our current EAP with Lucet has been left out, just because we don't know what that's going to look like in the future. That's a 1-year contract that we have with Lucet. We don't know that we're gonna offer that, like say next year, for example. And so I did want to focus on that mental health aspect. If we do something different next year, I want to make sure that we at least have that in the personnel policies. And the final change was to the sick leave bank. This was changed it to a shared leave bank. If long-term employees like myself have a lot of vacation hours that we don't use, and so it would just allow us to donate those as well as sick time. However, in conversations with the commissioner today, you know, it was pointed out that we do have some places in the personnel policy where we have some contradicting language. And so this is something that I would like actually to table until the next meeting in January, the first meeting in January, I should say. And one of the ways that one of the places where we have some contradicting language is in our vacation policy. Right now it says there's 2 different ways that we can carry over vacation hours. Employees carry over vacation hours, and they contradict each other. So we have to clean that up. And there's a few things that we need to clean up before we actually approve this policy. And so I would just ask that this is tabled until I believe that's the January 12th meeting in 2026.
I just have a quick question now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't see anything typically with per diem, there's a minimum miles of how far away. So, 60, 70 miles, I mean, that's just, you don't get per diem to go to St. Joe.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. There's
Right.
typically like a set miles, anything farther than this amount of miles, then we're gonna pay per diem.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I know that I mean, I could add that to there as well, because I know like we're gonna do a training like Topeka would be about 70 miles away. I'm not gonna stay down in Topeka for that, for example. it'd be more for like Wichita or Hutchinson or something like this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that can be added to there.
Didn't that deal on per diem say if it's an overnight stay?
It did. But I guess we could set a limit as to how far an overnight stay would be.
Yeah.
Well, even if they were to go to like Topeka for a day train, I mean, I realize a lot of the trains may provide lunch, but if not. I mean, if they're gonna be there all day, I would still say there would need to be a per diem.
Topeka's farther than 60 miles.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just a day, and if we're not staying, I mean, David mentioned if they stayed overnight, I'm saying if they just go for one day. And even if St. Joe was a day long, um, if it's a half a day, right, there's no need to pay for anything, but if it's a full day thing. I would think that we would provide lunch if they needed it, if the workshop didn't.
okay, and those are, that is something that in the past that we have done at the city, I know that usually day trainings, like a lunch would be covered, for example, but, that's something that we can also look at adding back to that. I can get that put together pretty easily.
And it says in the per diem, only overnight, and if you're only staying one night, you don't get breakfast, it's lunch and dinner. That's in the adopted Kansas verbiage that we have in the policy already.
I think regardless if they go to St. Joe or if they go to Horton for the day, it doesn't matter if they're at a conference or they're required training, we need to do per diem.
Okay.
That's just, I mean, that's something I think about. I don't think it's a matter of whether it's Topeka or St. Joe or where. If they have to go somewhere for the full day, then there should be some sort of per diem set up for them.
Okay,
I agree.
How much is per diem?
it varies. I mean, I know that,
It's $80 for Kansas City, which is a lot,
yeah, it's like 76 for Wichita.
and I get 60 in Oregon, so I don't know how Kansas City's 80, but I mean, I've been working around per diem schedules for 20 years, and I mean, normally it's a set rate of $60, which $60 is normally quite a bit of money to be able to go out for dinner and lunch and breakfast even, but
Well, the thing is, if we would have stayed with, just turn in your receipts for wherever you go to eat breakfast, lunch, or dinner, we probably would be cheaper,
Yeah.
but then,
well, I
But
see
then-
$600 and $1,000 charges for dinner on there. Yeah,
So-
we're not even close.
The $600, and the fact, it all comes out of how that works, it comes out of one line item. And so the $1,000 charges and the $600 charges are usually gonna be like room charges and things like that, or long conferences.
It's 7 meals on it, but
But it says meals, it says it's lodging meals, and it's all one line item.
I can't imagine anybody in the city's gonna spend $1,000 on food.
well, if you have 10 people.
But anyway, I said that this, actually for the employees, for the city employees, good for them, they won't have to answer questions for if they wanna go to Starbucks to get coffee and a donut for their breakfast, which is something like what I would do. They just, there's their money, use it as they want, so.
Well, the next question is, if it is cheaper, the way we were doing it, why would we change it?
You brought the per diem last time about it.
Well, I was just saying, maybe we need to look and per diem. I'm not saying change it. If it's cheaper, I mean, I've been. It was one conference that we looked at, and I don't know, I mean. If it's cheaper, if you're saying it's cheaper, then maybe it's better to just monitor it closer and.
That's what I'd be in favor of. I don't think it's that, we don't have that many people going to that many places out of town, I don't think. I think actual expenses would be cheaper than the per diem.
I mean, my only thing when I was asking about those budget purchases, I was just asking, hey, what's this about? I'm not saying that we're doing anything wrong or anything, it's just. If I ask what a charge is and no one knows, then maybe we need to look into it. That's all I'm saying, and how do you track it, I mean, I think I'm just saying, well, that's when you need to tighten up. I mean,
I would agree with that.
So are we like leaning toward per diem or not? So he needs to know where we stand on this instead of going to all the work trying to put it together.
I'm for actual expenses myself.
Yeah, I would say extra, just the expenses, and I'd say that's up to Brad and Don to monitor. That's not something that we have to micromanage. I mean, I trust that you guys, and I trust the city employees that they're not gonna go out eating at 1587 or something. I mean,
well, when someone asks me to go through a budget, it's not micromanaging, it's asking questions of what hundreds of dollars are being spent on. I mean, that's what I'm signing off on every month. So if you're gonna call it micromanaging, then we just shouldn't be monitoring that at all anymore. I mean, that's all I'm doing. When I have to sign my name to a budget every month, if I have a question about a line item, it needs to be answered, and that's that. I mean, I don't sign my name to anything unless I know what every charge is. It's pretty simple.
Well, I think the current version of the employee manual has language that talks about the per diem, then it also talks about actual costs, so Brad, maybe you can look at that again and
Yeah.
if there's a contradiction or I don't understand why both methods are in here, but.
The
maybe
way I
just
read it is,
clean up the language.
it's based on a per diem rate.
Yes,
The first day is $52 if you're not staying the night, second day is 52, if you stay the third night, the day in the middle, you're gonna get the full per diem for the day. And that's the way it's written. So it says per diem, but you're reimbursing as for what you spend on food.
yeah, and so I know that when it was adopted, the rates that we had at the time were inadequate, and that's why we went to the GSA per diem rates. And so I know that, I think that was back in 2023, maybe when that happened. And so that's when we kind of adopted that new per diem rate that we go by now, which is really set by the city. There's really a general rate for the entire state. And there's just gonna be a couple of cities in Kansas that, have a different rate than the general rate. But, yeah, I mean, if we want to just kind of keep things the way they are, I mean, that's also very easy to do, but we can just kind of tighten up any contradicting language that we might have in there as well, and, that's also fine.
I'll make a motion to approve table the approval of resolution 2025-17 until the meeting of January 12th, did you say, Brad?
Yes, that's the next regular commission meeting. Second,
It's been moved and seconded to table of discussion on resolution 2025-17 until the next regularly scheduled commission meeting. Any further discussion? Don?
all in favor? Aye, all opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. Item 3, parking ordinance discussion.
Yeah, so we also had some conversations here in the commission meetings recently about the desire from, members of the public, even some commissioners, to change the way that we have, parking on the streets of Hiawatha. Currently, we have cars that have been there long term, and so I know there's been some desire to change some things that way, if we could enforce making people move cars on a regular basis. And so that's what I'm asking for tonight. I did share a ordinance from the city of Lawrence that they have in place. And they call it a good neighbor ordinance, and basically that just, theirs is 48 hours, so you can have the car parked on the street for 48 hours. I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying, I was just using that as an example. These are the things that you could do. I mean, the city commission could choose whatever length of time they would like. But I just wanted to get this out there. I want to see if we do want to move forward with an ordinance, and I really want to know what the commission would like in that ordinance. Therefore, we can break that back at the next meeting as well.
I think 48 hours is pretty short.
It is.
I mean, at a minimum, I mean, does the police department receive a lot of complaints, chief?
Not generally, no, it would be very, very rare if we would.
I just don't wanna see broken up cars sitting in the same spot for months on end. But, you know, months on end, that's too long.
Well, you mentioned a week, or it's that soon.
I think a week would be good. Otherwise, the person's gonna say, oh, every 48 hours, and then, well, I'm moving my car, or, you know, I'm gonna go on vacation, and I think a minimum, 7 days, a week. Says it for a week. Well, it has to be registered, insured, and operable, doesn't it? to be parked on
It
the
does,
street?
see, and
Yeah.
some of the problems that we had with some of the cars in the park is they are registered and insured. And, so it's the way that they said they're not in a junk condition.
But they have to be operable to be
But-
parked, is that right?
So that is true, yes.
So then why are we even addressing this? For a vehicle to be parked in the city of Hiawatha, it has to be registered, insured, and operable.
Hmm.
Right?
Yes,
So then,
That's on the streets, not.
yeah, but you're talking about a disabled vehicle that's set for months on end.
Yeah.
If the police go.
That
"Hey,
was registered.
Start the car, move the car. I mean, it has to run. It
Yeah.
can't sit there with flat tires and all that sort of thing. But then we've already got an ordinance that's covering that.
I mean, I myself, I think 7 days. I just think Ian Sheets leaves for a week and his
Yeah.
truck's parked in front of his house. I mean,
yeah,
I'm just using him for an example. I mean, if I leave for 2 weeks, I don't park a car on the street, but I'm with Laura. I think we kind of already have it covered. It just needs to be operable and Mickey said,
Enforced.
yeah, that it never happens. So, I mean, the verbiage is there. We just need to, the couple of times or the once a year, we need to just stop and just say, hey, does this car run? If not, you need to get it moved. Vicky, or do you have any other ideas on how to enforce it even at 7 days? I mean, what do you?
We have addressed inoperable or broken down vehicles, we do deal with that. But in my head, I'm picturing from the beginning of this conversation over the weeks was vehicles that are parked on the street and they never move. And they're registered and tagged and they're sitting on the street and they never move.
Okay.
So there's a difference between what I responded to and what we do. We do deal with abandoned or flat tires, unregistered, we deal with it. But
Right.
legally tagged and parked vehicles on the street, are we talking about that? Or are we talking about a POS vehicle on the street?
Well, what do you recommend? Do you feel like we're sitting okay where we're at or what? With operable?
We handle the situation currently with inoperable vehicles when it's a junk vehicle, when it's not registered and tagged. Code enforcement does deal with those and they get taken care of. I can think of a vehicle on Cherokee, it's parked there for years and it's got a tarp on it. It's an old vehicle. I don't know for sure if it's registered or tagged, but it's parked in front of the house, but it's not a piece of junk vehicle. It's just got a tarp on it. Probably a legally parked vehicle. The legally parked vehicle that's registered and tagged should not be a big issue because we already deal with junk vehicles that aren't tagged in somebody's yard or even in front of the house with flat tires. We do deal with those.
But if it's tagged, then
If it's got tags and insurance and it's operable, or at least it's got air and tires and it's sitting there, it's not a piece of junk, it's legal and we don't deal with those.
I think we need to go with 7 days.
Well, it still says that's gonna be complaint driven though. It's not.
And it would be complaint driven,
Right.
sure, it'd be complaint driven, but at least it'd
I'd
give
say
the
a couple
officers
weeks.
an opportunity to have something in writing that says, look, this car sat here for months. Whether it's registered, insured, I mean, it's sitting there with a tarp. That particular car hasn't moved for, I don't know how many years. I just think it'd give the officers more
Well, I'm kind of with Brian, I can see the whole, oh, I'm gone for, someone's gone for 7 days, that's really easy to do. And if that's the case, then,
Well, and you have to look at the totality of circumstances. I
you
mean,
do.
Brian's out of work, he's out working for somewhere for 2 weeks. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's working. That's the difference between having a tarped car that's set in one place for months on end.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's like every other
I
ordinance that
would
we
like
have,
to
it's
see
totality
like
of
a couple of weeks.
circumstances.
myself, but,
So like 14 days.
yeah, half a month.
I'd be good with 14 days.
I like that better than a week.
And yeah, they're gonna look at the totality of everything. It's not like they're gonna drive up and down every street and say, oh, that car hasn't moved in 13 days, I'm gonna go tomorrow. They're gonna be addressing the vehicles that they need to be addressing.
Or maybe if, someone calls and says something, then they can keep an eye on it. Or something to that effect.
So are you gonna table this until you can bring it to the next meeting?
I think that I have enough direction here that way I can actually bring a sample ordinance back to the next meeting, see how the commission likes that. And then we can move on from there. If we need to make some changes, we can, but I think I have enough here tonight to, which is what I wanted, bring something back so that we can actually vote on, take some action on.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 4, library bill levy cap discussion.
Yeah, so this is something that has also come up during this past year, actually during the past couple of budget seasons. I did give the library, a heads up that we would be discussing this tonight. And so I know that there has been some desire among the commissioners to possibly look at lowering the mill levy cap as we have set by the, right now it's at 7.5. The library at this point, with our approved budget this last year, is at 6.73 mils. 2025, they're at 5.918. What that final mill levy comes back as, we probably actually have that number. It's gotta be very, very close to that number. 2024, they're at 6.19. And so library funding works. The library sets their own budget every year. And so as long as they're underneath that mill levy cap, they're allowed to raise however much they think they need to operate. Currently, right now, they're at, like I said, 6.73, 7.5 is where that cap is at right now. I have had a chance to, meet with members of the library, specifically the board plus the director, to kind of look at the ability, look at some of the challenges that they face, which is why I asked the library to be here tonight to kind of, pass on some information to the commissioners about what that is, and, some of the challenges that they face, and, let them get that information to the commission, and I really think that that's going, just a good flow of information could go a long way in this subject. I know that library funding is very complex. They have rules as it goes towards how much they need to use towards personnel services, building maintenance, I believe, things like that. And so, since we had discussed this year, I definitely wanted to bring this up to see, bring this before the commission. I would allow the library to come up at this time, if you would like, and kind of present some of this information.
I'm just happy if there's anything specific that anybody has questions on, or, I'm happy to answer questions first, or I can talk about it. I mean, Brad did a good job of kind of explaining some of what we've got going on, but didn't have any specific questions for me, because I've got my binder of answers.
I might be thinking about something else, but is there, we can't lower it too much or something because then you don't qualify for.
Right,
funding?
yes, So, in the large Excel, budget that Brad uses every year to make the budget, there's a library grants page, and that'll show, kind of what you're talking about. So we have to pass one of two tests every year for the budget. One is, have our, I think it's the mill increases, or, let's see. I can't remember the
Increase
exact
the
number.
dollar.
Has to, yes, our total revenue has to increase at least $1, or the mill levy increases. I think that's the two. And, the dollar increase has to go with most of the types of taxes we get, not all of them. But anyhow, yeah, so if the mill cap lowers too much and we can't meet one of those two tests, we don't qualify for state aid. If we don't qualify for state aid, it's a domino effect. We then don't qualify for grants from our regional system where we're accredited, and so then we would become not accredited and lose another large chunk of money from them. So,
What is that limit?
limit for,
So if we were to, I mean, I'm just.
oh, sure.
Talking out loud, but if we were to lower the cap to 6.8,
I don't, that's a great question. I don't think there's a specific limit. It would be with Brad and looking at, what the mill would be next year after property valuations come out. And looking in to see what number of mills would be to get at least $1 more in revenue. So there's not a set amount. We would just, yeah, it's kind of hard to know right now for future budgets, but.
And it's very difficult to predict, and so really this is very much property valuation driven.
Mhm.
And so however much the property values either go up, and so in recent years, for example, the library's been able to, their raises haven't hit the mill levy quite so hard because the property valuations have gone, are making the mill worth more. And so, in fact, from 2024 to 2025, and their actual mill levy rate for the city of Hiawatha actually went down, their total dollars went up. It's kind of the same thing that the city goes through every year with property valuations. And, in the revenue neutral world that we live in, and that can make things difficult really to understand. But my fear here is that with the way things are being, especially with property valuations, they've been going up, that's been pretty steady. I mean, I can't predict the future for sure, but I wouldn't want to have the mill levy cap set too close to where they are now, just because if something happened to those, with that mill levy, with those property valuations, I mean, they could very well be over that before we even start the budget season. I mean, that is also possible. And so, but that would require property valuations to go down to do that. But like I said, it's hard to predict.
so you don't adjust your mill per the dollar every year, you are stuck at 7.5, and so basically, or I'm sorry, 6.7. And so let's just say property values go down, you might have to adjust to 7.5 just to get the same amount of money.
Right. Yeah,
That's correct.
and that hasn't happened,
Right,
yeah,
that's exactly it, yes.
yes, and so the last time we got this increase to 7.5 was in 2013. And then before that was from 5 to 6.5 in 2011. And I think before that was like 1983 to 5 months. So, and since we got that increase to 7.5, we really haven't gone anywhere near it. And yeah, so 2023 was 6.401, and then it went down to 6.196, and then 5.9, and then, yeah, for next year. So, it's just this year has gone up a little bit, because, I mean, take your pick of what has gone up in price for the library. Anything and everything, materials has gone up, utilities, health insurance, and our wages, have gotten a little bit more to stay competitive and things like that, so.
I guess, I mean, but the mills have been worth more over the
Right.
years, so you have not necessarily lowered your guys' mills every year.
It's just ended up that way for what we've asked. It's ended up not coming near it because mills have been worth more. Yeah.
Worth more,
Mhm.
but you've been getting more money.
Yeah.
I guess what started this whole discussion is just when we were looking at every possible place we could cut,
Right.
and you see that, and it's a good reminder to show that you aren't at 7.5.
Right,
You know, I guess it's just always a little scary when we think that you could come in and say, well, this is what's in, that you guys go 7.5.
sure,
What I like to see is more updates, knowing like the concerns you have with the building, because
sure.
I still don't know what magic you all worked to get the elevator, all that money
It took
raised and paid for, and
3 years, I think it took about 3 years to raise that money. And yeah, absolutely, we, happy to, we invite anybody who'd like to come and look at the building, you're welcome to. We did have our big renovation in 2020 to get a lot of the inside done, and so now we're trying to look at the outside of the building with our, gutter and roof repairs that are coming up. And Brad got to take a walk around and look at all of those things. I know that we're super appreciative that, we did have city workers come out and work on some of our outdoor lighting and our flagpole and things to make sure it was lit up and had the flag properly in place. So that happened a few months ago. That was wonderful, to get those kind of things check marked. But yeah, so we do have a few things that we run into. I know a couple of times Brad and I, and with my board president Karen, we've talked about doing a memorandum of understanding between the library and the city, so we can kind of have something to look at and point to in the future if we get confused, or whatever happens, to look at what the library can be responsible for, and the cities, now that the city kind of has snow removal on the list for us graciously, and things like that. And just and what I've been able to look at with other cities and their libraries on how they have a memo of understanding, can also just kind of put in place how the library operates, so that, it is a refresher for anybody to how the mills work and how we operate kind of within the city. We're our own entity, but we're still part of the city, and it can get confusing. So just to have some kind of document in place to help with that.
I think that'd be a great place to start, because I would hate to see that domino effect of the library losing funding. I mean, there's just too many services that you all provide, and I appreciate seeing the numbers of how many people utilize the library, how many programs you do. I mean, it just shows that to have a good town, you have to have things like that, amenities like the library.
Yeah,
So-
we're happy to be there. I wrote down a couple things that we did. So like, we have our newer senior socials, twice a month, and we have creative hour at the library. This is like a mini update before I get all of my 2025 stats all put together. Those are our newer ones for adults. Specifically, we have plenty of fun kids programs we do all the time. And so in the last couple of years, we wanted to bring in a little bit of a variety for adults outside of book clubs and our knitting and quilters groups. So we have senior socials where anybody's welcome to just come and enjoy each other's company and play cards, listen to music in the background, and have snacks. And in 2024, we had 703 in attendance for that. And then so far in 2025, we had 764 for both senior socials and our creative hour. Creative hour is spearheaded by Joey May, who owns Bluebirds here in town. And she works at the library as well. And she loves to bring in different ideas and different types of crafts for people to come in and do that twice a week, actually. She has 2 different times that she does it every week. And we have a lot of patrons from BCDS that come and enjoy doing that, and other people from senior living communities are bused to us and get to create with us. So in total, in 2024, for both of those, we had 703. So far this year, 764 people have been able to come to the library and get those free programs with us. In 2024, because that's the solid numbers I have right now, versus 2023, we had 3 times the amount of people come to our summer library programs. And we were just about that same number for this year as well. We had about 1,500 people come into the library for summer programming versus about 450 in 2023. And so we're just really happy.
That's a good number.
Yeah, we're so happy. That's like, half the town was able to walk through the doors of the library for the summer. So, and things like that. So, yeah.
It's definitely been good to see all the things that go on at the library, because the average person doesn't realize just how many programs
Sure.
and what a huge benefit the library is to the community in general.
Yeah.
you know I for one, I kind of thought about that, the mill levy cap, and I thought. But after doing a little bit of research, sort of thing, and realizing what can happen if we do lower that, it could be detrimental very quickly, so.
We like our research there, so yeah.
Now, do you share your, like a quarterly budget or something like that with the city?
I bring in our annual budget is what we do most often. It's hard for our board to budget to the T before we get the property assessment.
I see.
Because we need to kind of know what we can ask for within our mills and everything, but, we share a annual projected budget for next year, and then I come in and I try to get your quarterly. Really hard. This year was a doozy for me personally, but I try to get here at least quarterly and give updates in general about how our programs and everything are doing.
I think the MOU is a really good idea, to put things in writing, so there's no question as to
Sure.
the responsibilities of the library, the responsibilities of the city, and how things need to operate.
Sure, yes, and a lot of other cities, I've been able to chat with other directors, and sometimes we send out surveys to each other in Kansas, and some other cities are able to provide things like building insurance, or if they own, you know, the lot, they're able to pay for their utilities and things like that. So I know that we don't get all of those lovely amenities. We get other things like the snow removal and water fees waived and things like that. So we try to be a bargain for you guys as best we can.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then have you figured out what you're gonna do about the guttering?
We've, it's been, I don't know, how long has it been, a year or two, several years, I think, that we've been chatting about it. We have found so far 1 to 2 companies that even know how to work on the type of guttering we have, this Yankee guttering. We have 2 estimates, one from Unruh Guttering, one from McKinnis, which is up in Nebraska. And so we've been pursuing grants for those amounts that we have. There's just not a lot of funding for library building projects. A lot of grants want to give money to give books away for kids and all of those types of programming type things. So we're still looking, we're still doing fundraising in general for it. But you know, it's not causing super detrimental damage right now, but if we don't address it soon, then it will get to that point. We have a lot of plaster work that already needs fixed up. Yeah.
The library's not designated as a historic building. is it?
We are not, because the building itself has had so many renovations and additions put onto it. We're no longer on we're gonna be qualified for that. So.
You need a motion?
I do not need a motion. I just wanted to really bring this up for discussion, see if there's any, kind of gauge the desire of the commission to move forward or not move forward. I really don't need a motion to not move forward. I don't really need a motion if we want to move forward or something. But really just get everybody here together, get some good information out there, because I know this is one thing that's, you know, we've discussed multiple times here in the last year, and it'll be here before we know it again. Budget season is going to be here before we know it again. And so, you know, these are just things that I really wanted to get some of these areas that we've discussed over this past year. You know, let's talk about it and see where we want to go.
I think we all have a better understanding of exactly how it all works.
Yeah, I know that even goes for myself. I know I've had to take kind of a crash course in library funding, and I still don't understand.
I kind of have to take a draft course every year when it's.
But, it's been explained to me very well. I know I had a good couple of walkthroughs, but, yeah, it's always a challenge. You know, budgeting is very much a challenge for the city as it is for the library, so.
And I get probably to my board, I've got about half of them here with me this evening. But they are really focused on being good stewards of our budget. Yes, they do everything they can to make sure we're looking at that and knowing where our revenue comes from and how we can spend it properly. And even when we get small gifts from people, if it needs to go to a specific project, we're really focused on making sure that gets appropriated correctly. And we're doing our part on trying to lower our expenses as well. This year we had to decide to discontinue our hoopla by the end of this year. That's a whole discussion about ebook lending and how expensive it can be, but we'll have to not have that next year and put the money that we did spend on it into a different ebook lending. And we are also we close on Sundays during the winter, so starting actually yesterday through the end of January, we're closed on Sundays to help cut down on, having the library open and people there when we don't have very many people coming in on Sundays in the dark in the winter. And then also we're closing an hour early Monday through Thursday for that same time period for 6 weeks, because I think in total in November and December, we had about 5 people come in between 7 and 8 p.m. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for about 6 weeks, we'll close at 7 instead of 8. So we're trying to find what we can to mitigate that.
Because ultimately, I'd like to see the mill levy cap stay where it's at. And develop an MOU, so it's very clear in the future where we stand.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's a good path forward too. Developing an MOU would be a very good positive step forward for them.
I have one drafted this Sunday.
Oh,
To look at it, so.
I really appreciate that you come in. I would encourage that you come in. I mean, if not quarterly, even maybe a little bit more than that. I mean, I know Clearback and Tony's been on the commission. She was always on the library to do that. And I know it's not always
Yeah.
the most fun thing to do, but it's just nice having a heads up. Yep. If there's anything going south, so we know when it gets to budget season, we have a better idea of what's gonna come. Bring your whole library posse, because
Yeah.
they're a great group of people, and I know that they're gonna do good things in the library too, so.
Sure. Yep, I'm happy to.
I would agree with what you said, Lauren. So,
I would agree with them. For right now.
breathe again.
Yep, okay, thank you very much. Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 5, grass and leaf ordinance discussion.
So this ordinance discussion has not really been discussed a whole lot here in the commission chamber. This is more among city staff. And so where a lot of our challenges that we face as a city staff as far as keeping our streets clean go, even our storm sewers. Right now, we don't have any specific ordinance that prohibits grass being discharged into the street and or leaves being raked into the street or blown into the street, which can cause, some issues, especially during the fall here for the city of Hiawatha. Grass definitely during the summer. I know that our street sweeper that we have will pick up leaves. And so it just, with the amount of trees that we have in town, it gets very difficult when we have, and it's not widespread, but this does happen where we have people that just either blow all their leaves into the street and or rake them into the street. And they just pile up, and it really does cause issues for us. Grass, that's more of a safety issue, the street sweeper has no problem picking up the grass. And it's more of just a safety issue, and it's not, anybody who mows along the curb is going to get some grass in the street, that's going to happen. This is more for the people that just deliberately blow it into the street, that's what we're talking about here. And so it's not that if you get 3 blades of grass into the street that, we're going to be coming down uphill. It's more if you're just going along and just blowing it into the street. And like I said, that's also not widespread. I'm not gonna say that this is a major problem in town, but yet it is a problem. These are things that we do see during the summer. I know this gets brought up to me a lot by public works staff. The leaves in the fall get brought up. Leaf cleanup's a whole other issue. We've been looking into some ways of maybe expanding that leaf removal program. Now, right now, we looked at a rental. It's very expensive. The purchase price of this piece of equipment is also very expensive. And unfortunately, it's also very specialized. And so it's not something that we can spend leaf removal. It's hard to justify spending $120,000 on a vacuum for leaves that we're gonna use 3 weeks out of the year. I mean, that's difficult. But we are also looking at rental. We thought we had something lined up, and the freight charges were more than the rental for that, and so we decided not to do that. It's something that we could do though, and I think there's some really interesting, aspects that we could bring there if we ever do get something like that here in Hiawatha, we could, expand that out to, the citizens as well. And so, we could say, get a schedule, we're gonna be in your area, if you want to rake your leaves to the curb, we can pick those up as we go. And so that would help residents out their leaf removal as well. Like I said, that's just something that we're looking into. I wanted to bring this up because I know this gets talked about a lot down in like staff meetings, things like this. I wanted to bring this up and see if there's any, this would be more, and so what we have right now in our city code in the streets, we already have things that are illegal to throw into the street, like rocks, things like that. This would just, we would just add grass and leaves into that. And so just, I wanted to bring this up, see if there's any desire among the commission to move forward with something like this. It would be, I mean, this is going to be something that would be, we would have to observe something like this happening before we can enforce it. But like I said, we know that these things do happen. And we are able to observe those things, especially during the summer, during the fall. Really, this is more of a discussion again. If we can get the details of this, and or we cannot move forward at all, and, then we can bring this ordinance back for, the first meeting in January.
I'd definitely like to see an ordinance, regarding the grass and the leaves. And again, it's the totality of circumstances. The person just gets a little bit of grass out of the street, that's one thing. It's another thing, the person every year that just blasts everything out into the street. Not only is it a safety issue for motorcyclists and bicyclists, but also it does.
It
opens
just
up the
doesn't look
street
good.
sweepers, and no, it's just not, a person shouldn't do that.
The grass, especially the grass, yeah, the leaves, it's falling, in the fall, they're all over the place anyways. You can rake and 5 minutes later you need to rake again.
Mhm.
But definitely the grass, it looks horrible. I think personally, cause I vacuum up all my grass, or bag it. I would like to see something.
But I mean, I remember when I was in high school and everybody used to put their leaves in the street.
Mhm.
I don't know if our street sweeper's different or what, but it was,
It is, and so what happened there is our street sweeper now is mechanical. And so it does have a leaf gate on it, and so instead of it having a vacuum feature like it used to have, that was a lot better. And so, the vacuum feature that we used to have in our street sweeper, you could actually pick up those leaves fairly easy with that vacuum. Well, the problem that we ran into was when we get into the vacuum part of the street sweeper, especially the one that we had, the reason we went for the mechanical one is because it caught on fire 3 times. And it has nothing to do more than just with the way the diesel engines are now. When they go into when they regenerate, the exhaust pipe gets very hot, and it would just catch those leaves on fire. I know we had 2 fires in the last fire, I think, some of the commissioners were here for that one. But, it burnt that street sweeper up, and so they decided to go with the mechanical one after that. The mechanical one that we have is it doesn't do near the job that the vacuum ones did. And so even the vacuum ones, I mean, there's a reason why they have the specialized equipment for this. The street sweepers will pick this stuff, but even the street sweeper we have now will do it. It just, it takes a long time, and it doesn't really do a very good job. If you go out and you look at it afterwards, it tears them up into bits, and there's always a trail. And so when it's done, I mean, I think that everybody can see that when we're done doing it. It takes about what would you say, Dominic, you actually operated the street sweeper, 5 or 6 passes?
Oh, yeah.
Once I spot.
I mean, right now, they're so deep in the curb and gutter. You have to, it's several passes and it still isn't.
Yeah, and so there's also some, we might have to think a little bit differently here on how to remove leaves from the streets too. There's different ideas out there too, and so.
do we need another sweeper is what because I've had complaints the last 2 months about the trail that you're talking about.
Yeah,
And I think that
well,
it's important enough to everybody that they want the streets looking nice. And I just remember from 25 years ago, that old, I mean, it looked like an old trash truck, but it did clean everything up really good.
it just had a giant vacuum. I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, everything looked really nice. And I think that's, I don't know, I mean, what's
I
to
don't-
do that?
I know there's something that we actually did discuss at staff meeting this morning, was about getting a different type of sweeper again. I know that we would have really have to be careful with the design on that, because the way that the last one was designed, the suction was right by the, exhaust pipe. And that's what caused the problem. And so we just have to be careful with the design of that sweeper, if we were to decide to go something different. The sweepers are very expensive. I mean, a street sweeper is gonna be $250,000 for, but we do have some value in the one that we already own.
And we'd rather, I'm just thinking then, if you can just buy a whole new sweeper for 250,000 and get the correct thing instead of spending 125,000 for an accessory on ours.
Yeah, these things, I mean, these things are trailers, I mean, they go crazy with these leak removal systems, but. I mean, that is something that we could look at, we would probably have to look at doing maybe a lease purchase. I know that the sweeper that we have probably has quite a bit of value left in it. I'd say at least half of what we paid for it. We could probably still get over $100,000 for the one that we own.
Because we've had a lot of problems with it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
We can
it's,
save a lot of money and add 2 words to the city ordinance that says, don't blow your leaves and your grass out into the street. And common sense tells you to keep it in your yard.
well, I mean, I don't think people are, I do think there are some people that blow them in the street, but not like it used to be. I think that a lot of it's just in the street.
Some of it is just blowing in the street by the wind, but I'm just more referring to the people that deliberately break them.
I know.
Maybe sometime in the future, but right now, a new street sweeper that's gonna suck up the leaves and do all this is not in our budget at all.
Well, I mean, but maybe we should get some numbers and find out if it is.
That is something that we can do definitely through this budget process. I don't think getting the numbers is going to be, we can probably get this fairly quickly. We can look at that during our 2027 budget process and see where we're at with that.
I mean, I just think that, and it just improves the looks of the town so much to have the streets cleaned all the time. And
I would agree with Laura, though. I think something needs to be, in an ordinance stating that, but then I would like to see what a new street sweeper that's capable of leaf removal, because I know Second Street just gets piled with leaves.
I mean, I'm only one person, but I think, first of all, you can put it out on social media and you say, please don't put the leaves in the street anymore. We've been saying that you can do this for the last 25 years. But put it out to the people and say, hey, we're asking you not to do this. Do that for a year, maybe 2 even. If you have to stop and say, hey, maybe you don't have social media, but hey, we're asking people not to do that. It's hard on the city sewer. So, I mean, I think just going straight to an ordinance is maybe a little bit of an overkill, just because also it's gonna be incredibly hard to prove and it's gonna be hard to enforce. I don't think anybody's gonna want a ticket I don't think Mickey's gonna wanna stop and say, hey, here's a ticket for your leaves.
Not that many people would actually do that, but.
Well, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think we necessarily need an ordinance yet until it becomes a problem. So let's put it out on social media and let's tell people, hey, it's hard on the sewer system. Get people acclimated to it. Hey, we're not letting people do this anymore.
I thought we just said it was a problem, so
It is a problem.
I don't know, I mean, it's not gonna.
Well, but what I'm saying is people don't know that you're not supposed to do it, is what I'm saying. For years, it's been put your leaves in the street. And if you put it out on social media saying, hey, the city's asking not to do this anymore, then let's start with that before we go from,
We already have started with that. How did that play out? Any
No.
change? Dominic, any change? When you
With
put out
grass,
on social media asking people to please not do that?
we did that with the grass this summer, and we didn't see really any effect from it that I saw. I mean, I wasn't out there every day, Dominic. I mean, still the people that do that comment, they still did that after we put that on social
the
media.
grass, I'm, because that's cut dry. That's my deal. Like, you can obviously see you've mowed your yard the last 3 times and all the clippings are in the yard. That is easy for someone to drive by and see. We can add that, and I agree, there's lots of people that complain about it, it's not safe for motorcycles or everything else. But the leaves is it's a different deal, it's gonna be much harder to say, hey, you know, I would just like to at least say, give people a chance to say, hey, this is not the way we need to be doing it. And if it becomes a problem, and then maybe we'll have a better solution for picking these leaves up. Because ultimately, you know, if we get a vacuum or we get something, let's get the leaves out of town totally.
Yeah, I mean, getting a different piece of equipment does give us some interesting opportunities as a city to really, you know, kind of help the citizens out, you know, with leaf removal. And it beautifies the entire town.
Be great in the future,
Mhm.
but for now,
Yeah,
I mean, it's like all the other city ordinances that the officers are going to go by and they're gonna say, hey, I just noticed you blew all your leaves and all your grass clippings and we do have a city ordinance. Could you please not do that?
Mhm.
And if they keep it up, then the officers have a city ordinance to utilize.
Gives a little bit more teeth.
It just gives them something, yeah, it's like everything else, the totality of circumstances. So I'm all for a city ordinance, adding the 2 words, and I think it's great. Look at a different street sweeper, and I mean, the leaves have always been a huge problem in Hiawatha because it's the city of beautiful maples, but that sometime maybe go with a program like you're looking at, but
Mhm.
for now, just to keep it simple and to deal with the current issue, 2 words in the city ordinance.
I don't think anybody's gonna care that there's an ordinance, to be honest.
Well, if they end up getting a citation, come to court.
It'll be just like the fireworks, people will just set them off anyway. I mean, it's just the truth of it. I don't wanna write people a ticket for leaves, that's all I'm saying.
Well, like Laura said, I don't see Mickey and those guys going out there and first time I see it, slap them with a ticket. It's just that, hey, we have this ordinance, keep this in mind, and it happens again, then it's a different story. I mean, I don't think anytime our police are that quick to write tickets.
With all of our city ordinance on the nuisance abatement and that sort of thing, they give warnings constantly to try to work with people before they ever start stroking citations. What do you think, Dave?
I'd be in favor of putting in the ordinance.
I
I saw a guy on Oregon Street last year behind the car wash. He was deliberately raking all his leaves out in the yard. He has that great big maple tree there, and that way you'd have some ammunition if you need to enforce it.
I watched somebody on Sixth Street with their leaf blowers, just flipping them all.
Well, yeah, but like Brian said, you know, for years, we
Yeah.
had a sweeper that cleaned them up for everybody.
No, we don't now.
We have to spend a lot of time cleaning out our storm sewers with leaves every summer, fall.
A lot of times, when really, I mean, catch basins can get pretty bad. The biggest problem that we have is that it plugs some up, you know, and you know, like, a good example of that second in Oregon, where, you know, we end up with that giant pond there when it rains, yeah, that leaves that is plugging that up. Now, that storm sewer itself needs work. It's inadequately sized. You know, we have a 6-inch pipe there, I think is what that is. It needs to be larger than that. So we are going to be dealing with that in a different way. But, you know, it does present problems. You know, it just reduces that capacity over time. And so if you go to some of the larger storm sewers, you know, some of them you could walk and I've been in them, especially as a kid, you know, probably 8 inches of leaves on the bottom at any one time during the summer. During the fall, it's worse.
Dominic, did you want to say something? It looked like you were.
I know, me and Brad have talked about this, for the last few years. Since we bought that sweeper, I can't get nobody to run it because I ran it, it's frustrating. You know, when you're trying to pick up, I get it, you know, where those guys are with it. We talk about it every day. It's been the elephant in the room. since we bought that one. I mean, I work with it every day and it is frustrating. I've been in it enough times. I get what they're talking about. I mean, I know maybe the budget can't take that this year, but yes, I mean, eventually, we looked at stuff to, but we're kind of missed the boat right now on, and the freight, like Brad said, was crazy. I mean, that would have to be budgeted on the lease or whatever, but that sweeper, Brad, it's what, 4 years old maybe? I don't. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, COVID is
Well,
like
5 years
2020, yeah.
yeah,
It was around 2020. when
Yes.
it burned out.
it's been
Yeah.
broke down twice, I think.
Yeah, at least.
yes,
Yeah,
It
just
is.
what's
It's just,
there.
it's just the mechanical nature of
Yeah.
that sweeper, it's just more moving parts to what the other. one.
it is, and it, I'll just say personally, it's frustrating. And yeah, it's frustrating seeing these leaves that, I mean, it's a personal thing to me, seeing that too. I talk to those guys every day, you know, you almost, it's just we're going to have to figure out, and Brad and me and Nick have talked about it. I mean, a solution, because yes, if I gotta put two guys out there, you know, for days, you know, but we need the right equipment to do it.
Can you give us, is there any type of skid loader attachment that we can get there?
There's a broom that you can use on a skid loader or something like that, but what that would require is you could probably get it out, like say, a broom that you put on the front of the skid loader. And that's going to pile those things out, then you would have to pick those up with, like, say, a bucket or something, yeah. Then load them up into the back of the truck. It'd be, that would be the process there. You know, I've thought about those different scenarios and, you know, kind of gone through it. You know, we've tossed ideas around back and forth on, you know, how best to go about this, but I know that leaves are definitely, you know, a major issue. Especially, I mean, like, Commissioner Tolson says, city of beautiful maples, a lot of trees in town, mature trees, and just a lot of leaves.
So Dominic, ultimately, how do you feel about a city ordinance for grass and leaf? Trying to keep the people who just push it all out and expect our street sweeper to pick it up when our street sweeper's not capable. of
Yeah,
doing it.
I was like Brad wanted, we talked about this. If we were gonna lease this stuff to do coordinates around the town. Now, do I see the same people throwing leaves? Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, that decision, you know, I don't know about that. Because is there three pieces of grass, or I don't know how you do that, and I'm not, you know, that one, I don't know how you do that
I'd be
one.
looking at all the circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, the officers are the people who'd be enforcing that. They'd be able to go down the road and say, this isn't just a little bit of leaves. This is intentionally thrown out into the street, and they would address it, give them a verbal warning, like,
And that one I'm not going to, but my observation of that sweeper since it's been bought, trying to get someone to run it, because it's frustrating. I ran it myself. I understand.
Well, it does a good job, I mean, so it's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very frustrating.
It's just, you have to go to the same spots over and over again, and then, you know,
That's not efficient.
plus it's. When you run a piece of equipment like that, I mean, this is why Public Works works well, because it's a monotonous job. We don't have anybody currently that works for the city that's okay with just running that thing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We're able to spread that out. It's a very monotonous type.
Well, I have another question. So let's just say next year we can budget the sweeper, a new one. Are we gonna change the ordinance again, saying that people can put their leaves back out to the
Yeah,
curb?
that's-
Or,
That's why I say give us some time and see what we can do.
No,
you know, if we have the capability,
I think what we would do in a situation like that, with what we commonly do, you know, certain city events, certain you know, we could always suspend an ordinance. You know, we do that we suspend policies, we can suspend it. Well,
During this.
there are
crisis.
certain
Like, limb removal or something.
liver removal, stuff like that, you know, we could, you know, the city could always look at suspending things like that. We're gonna have a dedicated program, you know, we're gonna suspend this ordinance for this time, here's our route, for example. This commission always has the ability to do those things.
I think deal with that when the time comes. But for now. Change the ordinance.
So Brad, do we need to have a motion for this, or do you need to come back with one that, what it would look like, and then?
I will come
then we
back
vote
with-
on it?
One will look like, and then we can go from.
Why don't we do that? I mean, I think we've discussed it enough, and then we'll just bring back, and then that's when we can vote.
Yes.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
Moving on to communications, Brad, anything you wanted to?
We have the, Little Hens, we have an advice email that we got from, the hospital about our officers helping in on an incident there, that was really nice. We have a KDOT award letter, I'm gonna have, Nikki kind of explain what that is, because I had to have them explain that to me actually this morning, because I saw it.
It's the yearly clicking and ticket thing that they do. The officers come out and they get reimbursed for the overtime. And we come out to try to encourage seatbelt compliance and drinking and driving permit. And it's just where they reimburse us for overtime. And the officers do get a certain amount of money for equipment out of the program as well. That's what that would be.
Thank you. 4,000, it's great.
Yeah.
I believe this church.
It's nice for a motor sick.
Yes, that's great.
Anything else?
No, nothing else.
Okay, moving on to governing body comments, I just want to comment on those of you who helped on the holiday party this year, the City of Hiawatha party. It was very nice, and I appreciate the work that especially cooks did to make sure everybody got fed. I think it was a nice way to show appreciation to our city staff, because they most certainly deserve that, so. Dave?
Yeah, I will echo that comment about the party. That was very well done, and I appreciate everybody's help on that. That was good. The other thing is the Chiefs are moving to Kansas.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
And maybe the Royals behind after that, who knows?
Who knows?
Tom?
I just wish everyone Merry Christmas. That's all I got.
Brian?
I don't have anything.
Laura?
Just wish everybody a happy holiday and enjoy.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moving and second to adjourn. John?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion passed 5-0.